to avoid the loss of potentially tens of thousands of lives. We must enact an immediate stay-at-home order for the state of Illinois. So that is the action that I am announcing today.
Given what we anticipate as the continued upward trajectory of the virus spread, I'm announcing now that Chicago Public Schools will be closed through April 20th, with students returning on Tuesday, April 21st.
Going woohoo, and we are live. Well, welcome. This is the first World Music Week. You're going to get to meet the musicians you're going to be working with and the different faculty members from the different universities that we have partnering. And you're going to learn a lot about Choro music. You're going to learn how to say that properly, which I'm not convinced I'm there yet. You're going to get a chance to hear some wonderful music and learn about how all of this is going to happen. So,
without further ado, let's get started.
I love this music more than anything else. You know, every day of my life, I think of Choro. Every day of my life, I think of Choro.
Very few of us cannot do something that feeds our soul and remain happy humans. The arts are vital to being a happy human, however they manifest themselves in your life.
Pity the person who's not a musician, because there's a special communication that is present in making music with others. It's a special language, and it's an emotional connection that you have with other people. The opportunity of musical communication in Choro is some of the most profound communication of the musical communication that I've had in my life, playing different styles. It's a very important part of being human. It's this type of communication that you get in no other way. Everyone should experience that. So what is Choro? Well, Choro means cry, and if you listen to it, most of it is pretty happy sounding music, so it's fairly mysterious as to why it's called that. It originated around the latter part of the 19th century, first as a way of performing music, and then it became a genre unto itself. So Choro is also kind of an umbrella term, and within Choro there's different characteristic rhythms. So there's all these different types under this one umbrella of Choro. When I first heard it, skies opened, light came through, and it was like, wow. I mean, it just did something to me. The melodies and the rhythm, and it just made me feel so happy, basically. And I went to hear my first Choro live, and let's just say, I cried like a baby, and I went up to the guy and I said, now I know why it's called Choro.
One of the trademarks of Brazilian guitar styles is to use open strings as much as possible. It gives a certain sound. It helps you get, the longer the string that you're using, the bigger the sound you're going to get.
So this idea of making the forks into 4/16 notes, that's just one thing. And then the reverse of that, making the 4/16 notes into 16th, 8th, 16th, that's another option. That's kind of like Choro in a box. Like if you wanted to just pick out some things that will make you sound like a seasoned Choro player, those are two things that you can do right away that people will be like, oh, okay, this person kind of knows a little something about playing this style of music.
Every culture and every genre has like different styles of music.
I had always kind of had trouble stepping outside my comfort zone with different music types. So I do jazz at school, but I'm not very good at it. And I usually only stick to classical music.
Classical music isn't the only music I know. It's not the only music I like. but it's the only music I've experienced like really learning about and practicing, of course, on the violin.
I think it's really important to learn different styles of music, just so you're one, well-versed, and two, find your own interests.
I felt like this music in general became easier to play if you didn't try and think of it in the same way as classical music.
The rhythm, it's a character of the music. It's an identity of the music. Without that foundation for this music to happen, the music becomes, it can go in any direction. It can become jazz, it can become classical. But once you address it properly with this Brazilian, African-oriented groove, all of a sudden you have a very Brazilian style of music.
That's great.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved those little extra things and that you put in, and there were certain moments that I could have sworn I was listening to Paulo Sergio Santos.
The style of the music and then sort of the dynamics of it were a lot different, because in classical music, normally there's very specific phrasing that you have to do, and it's very direct. Like, you can easily tell where it is. But I think with Choro music, it's a lot harder because it's a lot more technical than a lot of classical music that I'm used to playing is.
Since classical music has a lot of its own rules you need to follow when you play it, but different styles have a completely new and different set of rules that you need to learn.
Any music requires some convention, some knowledge, some certain ways of playing. It doesn't matter if you play even we say classical music, but amongst classical music there's Baroque, there's classical, there's romantic. So it's never just what's in the page. The page is very limited.
The students that I have, they all had to learn a new instrument. They never played the instruments that we used. But what surprised me is that once they got the technique, they did not have a problem understanding the music, learning how to play the instrument. They absorbed the idea of the rhythm and the idea of the music, and they nailed it. From the beginning to the end, they nailed everything.
Learning how to play with dynamics and musicality while still being able to play more technical music is valuable, and it helps a lot.
You kind of have to just ignore the rules you learned in classical music and try and focus on the new rules we learned in class, and focus on the feeling of the music.
But personally, with this rhythm, I feel like it's more like feel rhythm, if that makes sense. You just kind of have to feel it when you play it. Music is not just notes and rhythms. It also has a lot to do with emotion and the style of music that you're playing.
It's not necessarily all about being exactly in tune all the time and playing the notes as exactly as possible. It's more about the feeling of it.
That's what I was hoping to bring to these kids, is not just the music on the printed page and here's how you play it.
Because then you can think about music. If you guys are still oh, which note should I play? Here is a sharp or it is a flat, or this will take you away from the music. And what we most want to do is to play and to learn the music. And this is way more than just play the correct notes.
Playing the music is simple. You just have to listen.
When you're learning it, you learn the technical side, but that's not really playing the music. That's just doing what you're being told, and feeling it is completely different. Feeling it is just actually playing it.
Sometimes it's good to just let go. Sometimes that could make a big difference in your playing. It can make you more confident, and it's just more fun in general.
Explore how your emotions while playing it, and make sure to listen to others playing it, because I feel like it really helps with the overall learning process.
Be able to adapt quickly to things that are really new to you, especially going into it not knowing the style, just being able to learn that in the short amount of time that we had.
Practicing Choro music definitely helped me with that, with just letting myself try and listen into the music and just let myself play my part how it's supposed to sound, focusing on the sound of it and not as much on making sure every single note is perfect.
It's a hard thing to do, to be sort of neurotic and then let go.
Keeping rhythm in mind and reading more into it, because I struggle with that a little bit. And then also the way you play it, the way you want to interpret the music and then put it out into the world for other people to hear.
The idea of music is it's a gift to the people who are listening to you. And, I think it's a responsibility of the performer to think about what's this music supposed to be doing? Is it supposed to be helping people celebrate, or are they dancing to it, or are they mourning something with it? And then go to that place.
Now we are not just playing the music, we are playing with each other, and every single one of us have a little thing to bring to the music, have our own identity to bring to the music, and that identity put together, sometimes contrasting, it brings the music in a different direction.
I really like it, actually. I think it's really fun, and I think it gives a lot of opportunity to try out new articulations and things. Like Vitor was giving me different articulations than what was written, so more of a slur to tongue to type thing.
Cool. Brazilian guitar is like so incredibly awesome, and I was just wondering if you guitarists, what you thought of this experience.
With this track specifically, I thought it was pretty fun to play, because I started, but I got into music through my first instrument was electric bass, and so I felt like the patterns were very similar, and so it was cool to kind of return to my old roots on this new instrument.
It was cool. I started out playing first playing guitar, went just playing rock music. And then when I went to ChiArts, I started playing classical music. So then now playing this Choro music is really interesting, a really big change from all the types of genres I've been playing. And it definitely challenged me, for sure. But I mean, it's nice though, because it gives me a different sense of music from around the world, but also to music that you're not normally taught, which is really cool. Just because I make music also, I compose my own music, so it's I could even take this into account, what I've learned from this experience.
What do you think so far?
Honestly, this is a new experience for me. It's all different kind of music for me, so it's more fun for me.
Oh, good. And you've got this big, huge smile, so that's wonderful. I love seeing that.
Yes, of course it's valuable to learn other styles of music. Why is it valuable? Because it opens your mind to other culture.
I feel pretty strongly that to know a music of any sort is to understand the culture from which it came.
Learning different cultures, it gives you a different perspective on every kind of piece you play. You could play in a different style from a different culture and add to a different song which is not really into it, but make it something new and a different perspective and storyline to it.
I mean, we should all try to learn at least a little bit of other people's cultures, other than the cultures that we're used to.
I feel like music is a big part of culture. Learning about it might make you more curious about the actual culture. I'm curious about Brazilian culture now.
I think it's just important to understand the history. Everybody is important in their own way. Everyone's background is important. Their family is important. So, and their history is tied to their family.
Exposing them to one sort of, let's say, unusual kind of music, maybe for them in their environment, would trigger them the desire to be exposed to other quote unquote unusual traditions. So that's nice.
I've always loved learning new kinds of genres. I guess going and learning different kinds of cultures and learning their kind of genres and just how they make their music and how and how unique it is to them and their history on it is really also broadens my perspective on learning more.
Whenever we have an opportunity to travel and get outside of our comfort zone and what's familiar to us, it shakes us up, and it gives us a different perspective. It allows us to think about things differently.
But in order for you to absorb real music style, the real cultural aspect of the music, you need the other characters of what surrounds music, which is not just the music. It is the environment. You know, it's you being in that place and living a life in that place.
And when you get those blinders off your eyes, that you're like, oh, good music is good music, however it's expressed. And then you start to decenter yourself that like it's only Beethoven or nothing. And you realize how much value there is. Teaching these musical concepts, but then realizing like, oh, wait a second. This is really, really cool, but I didn't have to learn it in this older traditional way. I learned it in this different way.
I feel like what I'm taking away from it is that I should invest my time in learning more different cultures, so that way I can be more universal in a sense.
So I was hoping that by having this contact with this different musical tradition, different music approach, it would kind of enrich their playing and make them observe themselves and rethink the way they play any kind of music.
I want to see them be world citizens, and music is one of the best ways I can think of to get to the soul of others.
I used to listen to a lot of mariachi when I was little. I always wanted to play something close to something that was sort of part of my culture. When I first heard it, I thought it was like Mexican music because it was sort of similar to it. And I felt like I heard that before, so it brought me a little bit closer to do something that's part of my culture too.
For our students to be treated like professionals, and they were treated like colleagues, not students, and so that power dynamic was so wonderful and equitable. It really, really, really gave them confidence. So to have this experience where these very, very, very wonderful musicians are treating them like colleagues and adults because they're all working towards the same goal of let's get this great performance, let's understand how to do this music, let's make something wonderful together, that is huge. And their opinions as musicians and artists were so valid, and I was so excited to see those happen and see the growth over just 1 week from where they started on Monday to where they ended on Friday. And then, after, as we're talking to them, huge, huge growth. And I just very, very grateful.
I'm so excited. You guys sound so good. Oh my God. By the way, this is a dream come true for me. I can't even tell you. It's like so wonderful working with you guys. I feel a little tear coming. I'm so proud of you guys. Have you guys learned anything?
I mean, we learned a whole new genre, so yeah.
Cool, okay.
To me, the special magic of this entire experience was these incredible musicians and teachers who taught.
It was very important for me to bring the Brazilians because they grew up with this music. And they could share that with the kids. And I think that's a really important part of it.
Really valuable and important to learn Brazilian music from Brazilian teachers, considering they've grown up with this their entire lives.
We grow up with those subtleties of those rhythms since we are really babies, like baby songs. So transmitting that, it's really powerful, and I guess they feel it. So I think it's a really strong human connection.
They're showing us a part of themselves, a part of their culture, and I think that makes their teaching a lot more personal.
This is not just something a teacher learned and is just teaching their students. It's something close to home, and so I feel like it's easier to learn that way, just because it's kind of the music's kind of in them, and they didn't just comprehend it; they just kind of live with it.
Most successful teachers and my most successful interactions were the very authentic ones. So to have someone from Brazil who grew up listening to this music all their life, really, I think, rang really true for them.
It's obviously very close to their hearts. It's something that they're passionate about, something that they have a lot of knowledge about, and something that they want to share with us. They're not just teaching it to us.
I just love this music so much, and I love the Brazilian culture so much. When you love something so much, you want to share it with people.
We got to experience firsthand what they thought, and like it's just an interesting interaction how our views can be different and be similar at the same time.
I think that's probably the best way to learn, from people who actually know the music and live around it, because it's kind of like learning a language. Like, if you want to learn the language, be with somebody who knows the language.
Knowing the theory versus actually feeling it. Same for a new language, for example. You're going to learn the language, you're going to learn the grammar, the pronunciation and everything. But for example, someone who learns a new language later might have a little accent, or they might have like something that they keep from their original language. The same goes with this. With someone that learns the style from where they are kids, it's more natural. Like, they feel it and understand it better. Compared to someone who learns it later, it will not sound the same, but it will be very good, but not necessarily true to the style of music.
By being Brazilian, you know, we kind of like bring this like native speaker accent to the music, so to say. You know, the emotion, the connection, the truthness, you know, it's kind of unique through our experience as Brazilians, as growing up with this music, as like listening to that.
When you learn a second language, you can see how the process of thinking and speaking is differently. And this kind of shapes the way that you see the world and express to the world. And I think music is exactly the same thing.
Different styles are like our different languages that are spoken across the world. And you're never going to be a native speaker.
It's powerful. I don't know other word, but you know, it's really magical, I would say, you know. It's like learning a language. I don't know, like I can hear like Japanese and in a movie and it sounds like, but then when you start learning and then you start to appreciate different aspects of it and different aspects of the culture, not just the language or not just the music.
With enough hard work and with the right guidance of those specific teachers, that I was able to learn a new music style and that I was able to really grasp a different culture's music.
It's just a little scary to not want to disappoint them when you're trying to play music that's probably really, really important to them.
I used to be very like narrow-minded, like back in Brazil, like pride of the culture, like, you know, only we can play this music. And that's kind of like silly and naive, you know, and I don't think that only Brazilians should teach Brazilian music. And I think if a jazz musician or a student or whatever like wants to learn a little bit about choro to kind of like broaden their musical horizon and to have a different perspective, even though if they don't play like super authentically, I think it's great, you know, and if they include that in their mix and their baggage, you know, that's beautiful.
My parents decided to send me to the more professional flute teacher. It was really tough. So I didn't like it at all. And so I'm going to her for a while, like maybe a month or so. And I come in and I say, hey, you know, I'm not getting better. I'm not getting better at all. And she smiled at me, which made me even like more upset. And she says, she goes, no, you're getting a lot better. Why do you think you aren't getting better? And I said, well, because I'm having trouble entering on the second 16th note of the beat. And I'm dragging a little bit and, you know, whatever. And she's like, right, you're getting better. And I said, but I have all these things wrong. And she goes, yeah, that's because now you're hearing it. I've been telling you these same things for a month straight, but now you're hearing it and you will then get better. So when the filter comes off your ears and you're able to hear more, you're going to start to hear stuff wrong with your playing. But that's actually, it's like when a snake sheds its, great minds think alike.
what is being difficult? Tell me, what is being difficult for you to try to play this? What is the most hardest stuff for you in this?
For me, I guess just it's just really like different, the rhythm.
I knew that the rhythm part would be really challenging.
This is a music that's highly rhythmic, and it's like pretty much like the defining feature of the music.
So just in general, this music was the rhythm was very hard.
I struggled a lot with the rhythm.
It's the same thing with like the rhythm and everything. It's not to think you know about the rhythm, and you have to listen to it beforehand to see if you actually are right.
The rhythm, which everyone's talking about.
Since they're not common rhythms really in classical music, so it's something to get used to.
I'm never gonna make that mistake ever again, to be very honest.
Big challenge. It's difficult music, and not everyone's familiar with it. And so we knew that we had to kind of have the attitude of, well, we're going to get this done. It's going to be what it is.
So flutists are supposed to have nice sound and nice interpretation, sometimes nice technique. So it's cool. But the rhythm, I spent hours working on the rhythm, and it's really hard because it's syncopated, and I'm not used to syncopated rhythm. So I was able to notice that I am not necessarily very good at rhythm, and that I need to make it stronger in order to improve my playing overall.
In a way, like everything is rhythm, because rhythm is frequency. Say like a pulse and another pulse that is double that. Those are like frequencies. And one thing fascinating about rhythm is that it's so organic and so fluid.
I personally did not get the hang of this style of music, but it was really, really fun to listen to and hear other people play it. And it was very different, very new, but I thought it was very exciting.
That's something that any musician actually needs to recognize in any, whatever kind of music. You don't have infinite amount of time to prepare for every musical event that you are going to do, and you still want to enjoy it, even if you're thrown in somewhere where you're maybe a little bit over your head. So
mistakes are okay because you learn from them. It's what you do with the mistake.
Go and 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and now you.
E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2.
Bravo. Exactly.
The feeling of approaching something that looks so daunting in the beginning, and then after guidance and coaching over 3 days, there was this marvelous recognition, like, hey, I'm doing it. I'm doing this thing that I thought I couldn't do.
Yeah, this is why we do this. This is absolutely why we do this. So it is the aha moments. It's the joy that they got. It's that, oh, I had no idea I could learn this. It's the realization that they absolutely are worthy of being treated as colleagues and treated as adults in the recording studio. That is just so valuable.
So if you think you are all that, if you think I am brilliant, then something's wrong. I don't care how old you are or how advanced you are, there's always something to learn.
These students have been learning remotely all year. So, and they've been doing conservatory remotely all year. And that has been something that, in many high schools, we're finding out that they just kind of stripped away all of what they considered extra, and they're just doing English, math, science, and not even trying to do any sort of band or choir or making it work in some bizarre way. So you see this huge lack of the arts, even at schools that have recognized arts programs. And I think the assumption, though, that arts aren't viable as a career choice, or that they don't pay a living wage, or that they're somehow frivolous because it's not STEM or it's not, accounting or something like that. What industry do you work in? No matter what industry they say, I'm like, what qualities are you looking for when you hire? Like, obviously competency in the field, but you want collaborative. You want people who are detail oriented. You want people who, can see the big picture, who, are creative, who can come up with interesting ways of thinking and doing things. You want artists in every field. You want artists.
What I would say is, as a musician, it's a bonus to not narrow your options, but to expand them as wide as you can go. Explore all sorts of different instruments and musics and cultures, because that's what's going to make you who you are as a musician.
Take every opportunity you have to travel outside of your backyard. Take it and be greedy and enjoy, because it'll make your life so much richer.
I think the elements in music are universal. Anything that you're playing, the instrument, you're gonna have like this range of possibilities. That's culture. Thinking about that, I think that's what's the most powerful, and I hope like that they bring that thought to anything they play.
Anything that you learn on an instrument, if you are creative enough to bring that from that, like traditional idea and move into a variety of styles and ideas, there is nothing that holds you. I mean, basically you just need to be creative and use it.
I hope that people learned all kinds of different things, dealing with these situations where maybe it's the first time you've done something, or been in a musical situation where you're unfamiliar with the music, you're interacting with new people. Can be exciting challenges, or they can be daunting challenges, and all the students that I met totally rose to the moment and put their best foot forward and played some great music, which was wonderful to see.
Stimulating and instilling them this like openness and curiosity and like broad-minded, that you're too young, you don't have like to decide what you like and don't like forever in your life. So giving them the opportunity to live through something new, some different culture, like I think it's really powerful in that sense.
I feel that our job as a teacher is not to like sit there and lecture, but it's to open doors, to show the students where the doors are and have them open them themselves. That's how they're going to learn.
Brazilian music, you think in a way, jazz, you think in another, classical music is another, and more of this experience that you have, I think a better musician you are and a better person you are. If you are a good person, probably you are a good musician. If you make yourself, a good person, if you grow in other areas of your life, I bet you're gonna be a better musician, and vice versa.
I mean, amazing job, everyone.
I know. You guys did great. So great.
First, Brazilian music seemed really hard to me, and I was very scared about it, but it's actually become one of my favorites. It's just really cool to me how that kind of style of music. So yeah, very much recommend exploring other types of genres.
Overall, pretty much all of them, I think all of them, I can say, had a huge progress through the week, and it was beautiful to see that progress they made.
Just continue doing this program because I really liked it, and I hope that it's a program that other students get to try out in the future.
Even though it's popular in Brazil, where it's from, it's not as well known in the rest of the world, and I do think it's a really important part of Brazilian culture. I think it should be shared with more people, and I think it should be shown more love from the rest of the world.
I never heard of Choro until I was already a professional musician. Had no clue what it was, and it changed my life completely.
We felt the connection, and we felt like the transformation and their enthusiasm, and yeah, so it's great. It was a privilege.
Great music is great music. Here's ones that happen to be from Brazil, and here's ones that happen to be from the West Indies, and here's ones that happen to be from India, and here's ones that happen to be from France. And all of them are equal because they're just still great music. That's where I think if we get there, I think that's the ultimate effect of stuff like this.
Perfect, beautiful, gorgeous, brava.
Yeah, really nice. Guys, incredible job, everyone.
Why don't you give yourself
Going in with like different styles of music, different types of music, it can just like show you different things that you can do. Maybe you might even find that you like it better than classical music.
Whether they play Choro again or not, I hope that they, planted some seeds that could grow in all kinds of different directions.
And so when I get to choose classes for college or something, I want to explore more genres of music. So I want to learn Brazilian as well as other kinds of music just because of how fun it was.
The thing that made it worthwhile was the effect it had on the students. That was it. That was, job done.
It was just an amazing experience, like to be able to work with them and to see their interests, to see them motivated to learn and overcome the challenges. And yeah, it was a very powerful experience and very touching.
For me, it was really, really a great experience, and I would love doing it again.
It was a great honor and a pleasure to be a part of the project. I mean, it was super fun to deal with this music that I love, and in this setting where we're working with music students who have got a lot of talent and ability.
Working with such a high level of student, these thoughtful students was, it's always wonderful to work with people who are so accepting.
Playing stuff that I had never even heard of before was it'll just stick with me, I guess. It feels like something that you won't be able to forget.
But thank you guys. Yeah, we'll miss you all. But, the sound will live in the internet forever. Okay, you did all amazing. It's really hard music and you guys handled it.
We'll be in touch, okay?
Thank you so much for everything.
And of course, you're going to have your film debut, right? Oh, yeah. Bye, everyone.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yes, future Hollywood stars for sure.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.